April, Las Vegas. The spotlight was blinding, the applause deafening, but all Marian Rivers could hear was the ragged edge in her voice, the strained note that had cracked, betraying the years of relentless touring, the countless nights spent pouring her soul into smoky clubs and grand concert halls. She finished the song, a classic jazz standard that had been her signature piece for decades, but the usual exhilaration, the rush of connection with the audience, was missing. In its place was a hollow ache, a sense of exhaustion that went beyond the physical. Backstage, her manager, a gruff but well-meaning man named Tony, met her with a worried expression. "Marian, honey, you okay?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. "That last note, it wasn't your best." Marian forced a smile, trying to mask the fear that was creeping into her heart. "I'm fine, Tony," she said. "Just a little tired."
But she knew it was more than that.
Her voice, her instrument, her livelihood, was failing her. The doctor's words echoed in her mind. Vocal strain. "You need to rest, Marianne, or you risk permanent damage." She had ignored the warnings, pushed herself too hard, driven by the relentless demands of her career, by the fear of losing the only thing she had ever known, the only thing she had ever truly loved, singing. But now, standing in the sterile backstage room, the applause fading into a distant memory, she knew she couldn't ignore it any longer. She needed a break, a change, a chance to rediscover her passion, to heal her voice, to find a new rhythm for her life. She looked at Tony, her decision made. "I'm canceling the rest of the tour, Tony," she said, her voice firm despite the tremor of uncertainty that ran through her. I need some time off." The last note wasn't just the end of the song, it was the end of an era. And Marianne, the fiercely independent, fiercely driven jazz singer, was about to embark on a new, unexpected journey, a journey that would lead her to a quiet coastal town, to a new melody, and perhaps to a new love. Chapter 1. Crescendo of change. The drive down the California coast was a balm for Marianne's weary soul. The vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, shimmering under the summer sun, the rugged cliffs, the charming seaside towns, it was a world away from the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas, from the relentless pressure of her career. She had chosen Oceana, a small, laid-back town nestled between the mountains and the sea, as her temporary refuge. She'd found a quaint cottage for rent, overlooking the ocean, and had enrolled in a series of summer music workshops at a local community center, Harmony House. She wasn't ready to give up singing entirely, but she needed to find a different way to connect with music, a way that wouldn't strain her voice, a way that would allow her to rediscover the joy she had once felt. Teaching, she thought, might be the answer. Sharing her knowledge, her experience, her passion with others, might rekindle the flame that had begun to dim. She arrived in Oceana on a warm afternoon, the air filled with the scent of salt and the sound of seagulls. The town was even more charming in person than it had appeared in the online photos. It was a vibrant mix of artists, musicians, surfers, and retirees, a place where creativity thrived, where life moved at a slower pace, where people seemed to genuinely connect with each other. Her cottage was perfect, a small, cozy space with a breathtaking view of the ocean. She unpacked her bags, feeling a sense of peace, of anticipation, of a new beginning. The next day, she drove to Harmony House, a brightly painted building located in the heart of town. It was a bustling hub of activity, with music spilling out from open windows, children laughing, and adults chatting on the porch. She was greeted by a friendly woman named Sarah, the center's director, who showed her around the facilities, introducing her to the other instructors, a diverse group of musicians with a shared passion for teaching. "We're so thrilled to have you, Marianne," Sarah said, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "Your workshops are already fully booked. Everyone's excited to learn from a legend." Marianne smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. It was a different kind of recognition, a different kind of validation than she was used to. It wasn't about fame or applause, it was about connection, about sharing, about inspiring others. As Sarah was giving her the schedule, she noticed a man across the room. He was standing near a grand piano, talking to a teenage girl with vibrant pink streaks in her hair. He had kind eyes and a gentle smile, and there was a quiet intensity about him that drew Marianne's attention. "That's Samuel Grayson," Sarah said, following Marianne's gaze. "He's one of our most popular instructors. He teaches music production and songwriting. And that's his daughter, Chloe." Marianne felt a flicker of something. Curiosity? Interest? She wasn't sure. But she knew, with a sudden, unexpected certainty, that this man, this Samuel Grayson, was going to be a part of her new life, her new journey, her crescendo of change. The change wasn't just about location, it was about the people she would meet, the connections she would make, the unexpected melodies that would weave their way into the soundtrack of her summer. KREA AI cover prompt: imagine a photorealistic image of a woman in her mid-40s, with a stylish, short haircut and a thoughtful expression, standing on a California beach at sunset. She's wearing a casual, bohemian outfit and holding a microphone loosely in her hand. In the background, slightly out of focus, is a man of similar age, with kind eyes and a gentle smile, playing an acoustic guitar. He's sitting on a wooden bench, with a teenage girl with pink streaks in her hair leaning against him, listening intently. The sky is a vibrant blend of orange, pink, and purple, reflecting the warmth and emotional depth of the scene. The overall feeling is one of healing, second chances, and the transformative power of music. The style should be reminiscent of a contemporary romance novel cover. AR2:3 style expressive. Marianne watched as Sam demonstrated a chord progression on the piano, his fingers moving effortlessly across the keys. Chloe, his daughter, watched him with rapt attention, her pink-streaked head bobbing slightly to the rhythm. There was a clear bond between them, a connection that transcended words, a shared language of music. Sarah continued the tour, pointing out the various classrooms, the recording studio, the performance space. But Marianne's attention kept drifting back to Sam, to the quiet intensity of his presence, to the way he interacted with his daughter. "He's a widower," Sarah said, noticing Marianne's gaze. "Lost his wife a few years ago. Chloe was well, it was tough on both of them. Music had helped them heal. It still does." Marianne felt a pang of sympathy, a sense of shared understanding. She knew what it was like to lose something precious, to grapple with grief, to search for solace in the midst of pain. As the tour concluded, Sarah led Marianne back to the main room, where Sam and Chloe were now packing up their instruments. "Sam, this is Marianne Rivers," Sarah said, introducing them. "She'll be teaching our vocal workshops this summer." Sam stood up, extending his hand. His eyes, a warm hazel, met hers, and he smiled. It was a genuine smile, a welcoming smile, that reached all the way to his eyes. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Marianne," he said, his voice a smooth baritone. "I've heard a lot about you. We're all thrilled to have you here." Marianne shook his hand, feeling a spark of something. Connection? Attraction? She wasn't sure. But his touch was warm, his grip firm, and his gaze held hers for a moment longer than necessary. "It's a pleasure to meet you too, Sam," she said, her voice a little breathless. "This place, it's wonderful." Chloe, who had been watching them with a curious expression, stepped forward. "Are you the Marianne Rivers?" she asked, her eyes wide. "The one who sings Midnight Blue?" Marianne laughed, surprised and flattered. "Yes," she said. "That's me." "Wow," Chloe said, her pink-streaked head bobbing again. "That's so cool. My mom, she loved that song. We used to listen to it all the time." A shadow crossed Sam's face, a flicker of pain that he quickly masked with a gentle smile. "She did," he said, his voice soft. "She had great taste in music." An awkward silence hung in the air, a reminder of the loss that still lingered in their lives. Marianne, sensing their discomfort, quickly changed the subject. "So," she said, turning to Sam, "Sarah tells me you teach music production. That's fascinating. I've always been more on the performance side of things." Sam's smile returned, a genuine smile that eased the tension. "It is fascinating," he said. "It's like building a song from the ground up, layering the sounds, shaping the emotions, creating something new." He paused, his gaze meeting hers again. Maybe we could collaborate sometime," he said. on a workshop, or even a song. Marianne felt a flutter of excitement, a spark of anticipation. The thought of working with Sam, of creating music with him, was intriguing. "I'd like that very much," she said, her voice filled with a warmth that surprised even herself. The crescendo of change wasn't just about the new location, the new career path, it was about the new connections, the unexpected sparks, the potential for collaboration, for growth, for a harmony she hadn't anticipated. And as she looked at Sam, at his kind eyes and gentle smile, she knew that her summer in Oceania was going to be anything but quiet. Chapter 2. Harmony House. Marianne's first week at Harmony House was a whirlwind of activity. She met with her students, a diverse group of aspiring singers of all ages and skill levels, each with their own unique stories, their own reasons for wanting to explore the power of music. She found herself energized by their enthusiasm, their passion, their willingness to learn. It was a refreshing change from the jaded cynicism she had sometimes encountered in the professional music world. She quickly settled into a routine, spending her mornings teaching workshops, her afternoons exploring the town and the surrounding coastline, and her evenings relaxing in her cozy cottage, listening to the sound of the waves and working on her own vocal exercises. She saw Sam regularly at Harmony House, their paths crossing in the hallways, in the common room, during the occasional shared lunch break. They exchanged smiles, brief conversations, casual banter. But there was an undercurrent of something more, a subtle awareness, a mutual attraction that neither of them was quite ready to acknowledge. Marianne found herself drawn to Sam's quiet intensity, his gentle nature, his obvious love for his daughter. She admired his dedication to his students, his passion for music, his ability to create a safe and supportive environment for them to explore their creativity. She also noticed the sadness that lingered in his eyes, the shadow of grief that he carried with him, a reminder of the loss he had suffered. She knew that he was still healing, still processing his pain, and she respected his boundaries, his need for space. One afternoon, as she was leaving Harmony House, she found Sam sitting on the porch, strumming a guitar. Chloe was sitting beside him, her head resting on his shoulder, her fingers tracing patterns on the worn wood of the instrument. Marianne paused, captivated by the scene, by the quiet intimacy of the moment. Sam was playing a soft, melancholic melody, a tune that seemed to speak of loss, of longing, of a love that had been taken too soon. As he finished the song, he looked up and saw Marianne watching him. He smiled, a gentle, slightly embarrassed smile.
"Sorry," he said.
"Didn't mean to disturb you." "You weren't disturbing me," Marianne said, her voice soft. "It was beautiful." "What was that?" He hesitated, his gaze shifting towards Chloe, who was now looking at them with a curious expression. "It's something I wrote," he said. "A long time ago. For my wife." Marianne felt a pang of sympathy, a sense of shared understanding. She knew what it was like to pour your emotions into music, to use it as a way to express the inexpressible, to heal the wounds that words couldn't reach. "It's lovely," she said, her voice sincere. "You're very talented." He shrugged, a self-deprecating gesture.
"It's just a hobby," he said.
"I haven't written anything in years." "You should," Marianne said, her voice firm. "You have a gift. You shouldn't let it go to waste." He looked at her, his eyes searching hers, as if trying to gauge her sincerity. He seemed surprised by her encouragement, by her genuine belief in his talent. Maybe I will," he said, his voice a little hesitant. Chloe, who had been listening to their conversation, suddenly spoke up. "You should, Dad," she said, her voice earnest. "You're really good. And Mom would have wanted you to." Sam's expression softened, his gaze shifting to his daughter, his love for her evident in his eyes. He reached out, gently stroking her hair. "Maybe you're right, sweetie," he said. The moment was intimate, a glimpse into the private world of a father and daughter, a world that Marianne felt privileged to witness. It was also a reminder of the power of music, of its ability to heal, to connect, to transcend the boundaries of grief and loss. And as she walked away, leaving Sam and Chloe to their quiet moment on the porch, Marianne felt a growing sense of connection to this man, to this family, to this place that was slowly, surely, becoming her home. The harmony wasn't just in the house, it was growing between them, subtle but undeniable. Chapter 3. Unspoken melodies. The following days brought Marianne and Sam closer, their interactions evolving from casual conversations to shared moments of laughter, of quiet understanding, of a growing mutual respect. They discovered a shared love for jazz, for blues, for the timeless melodies that spoke of love, loss, and the human condition. They began to spend more time together at Harmony House, collaborating on lesson plans, discussing music theory, and occasionally just talking about their lives, their dreams, their fears. Marianne learned more about Sam's past, about his career as a music producer, about his wife, Sarah, who had died of cancer 3 years earlier. She learned about his struggles with grief, about his dedication to his daughter, about his decision to leave the fast-paced music industry behind and embrace a simpler life in Oceania. Sam, in turn, learned about Marianne's career, about her successes, about her struggles with vocal strain, about her decision to take a break from touring and rediscover her passion for music. He listened with empathy, with understanding, with a genuine interest that made Marianne feel seen, heard, and valued. One afternoon, as they were working together in the recording studio, helping a group of students record a song, Sam turned to Marianne. "You have an amazing voice, Marianne," he said, his voice sincere. It's a gift." Marianne felt a warmth spread through her, a sense of validation that she hadn't realized she craved. "Thank you, Sam," she said. "But it's not what it used to be. The strain, it's taken its toll." He nodded, understanding.
"I know," he said.
"But it's still there. The power, the emotion, the soul. It's just waiting to be rediscovered." He paused, his gaze meeting hers. Maybe I could help you," he said. "With your voice, I mean. I have some experience with vocal techniques, with rehabilitation. We could work together." Marianne's heart skipped a beat. The thought of working with Sam, of exploring her voice with him, of allowing him to help her heal, was both exciting and terrifying. It meant opening herself up, being vulnerable, risking the emotional connection that was already growing between them. "I don't know, Sam," she said, her voice hesitant. It's very personal." He smiled, a gentle, understanding smile.
"I know it is," he said.
"And I wouldn't push you. But I think we could create something beautiful together. Something healing." His words resonated with her, echoing her own desires, her own hopes. She had come to Oceania to rediscover her passion for music, to heal her voice, to find a new rhythm for her life. And maybe, just maybe, Sam was the key to unlocking that potential, to finding that new harmony. "Okay," she said, her voice a little breathless.
"Okay, Sam.
Let's try." The unspoken melodies weren't just the songs they were working on, they were the emotions swirling between them, the unspoken attraction, the shared vulnerability, the potential for something more. And as they began to work together, those melodies began to take shape, to grow stronger, to weave their way into the fabric of their lives, creating a symphony of hope, of healing, and of a love that was slowly, surely, beginning to blossom. Chapter 4. Rhythm and Blues. The vocal sessions with Sam became the highlight of Marianne's week. They met in the evenings, after the workshops had ended, in the quiet solitude of the Harmony House recording studio. It was a space where they could both shed their defenses, where they could explore their vulnerabilities, where they could connect through the shared language of music. Sam was a patient and intuitive teacher, guiding Marianne through a series of exercises designed to strengthen her vocal cords, to improve her breathing, to rediscover the range and power she had thought she'd lost. He didn't push her, didn't pressure her, but instead created a safe and supportive environment where she could feel comfortable taking risks, experimenting with her voice, and pushing her boundaries. He also encouraged her to write her own songs, to express her emotions, her experiences, her journey through music. He helped her find her voice, not just as a singer, but as a songwriter, as a storyteller, as a woman who had lived, loved, lost, and was now finding her way back to herself. As they worked together, the connection between them deepened. They shared stories, laughter, and moments of quiet understanding that transcended the boundaries of their professional collaboration. They talked about their pasts, their families, their dreams, their fears. Marianne found herself opening up to Sam in ways she hadn't anticipated, sharing details about her life, her career, her relationships that she had rarely shared with anyone else. She felt safe with him, understood, accepted. Sam, in turn, shared more about his wife, Sarah, about their love story, about her illness, about the grief he still carried. He spoke of his struggles with single fatherhood, about his desire to protect Chloe, about his fear of moving on, of finding love again. One evening, as they were working on a new song Marianne had written, a bluesy ballad about lost love and second chances, Sam stopped playing the piano, his gaze fixed on her. "This is incredible, Marianne," he said, his voice filled with emotion. It's raw, it's honest, it's you." Marianne felt a warmth spread through her, a sense of pride, of accomplishment, of having created something beautiful, something meaningful, something that resonated with both of them. "Thank you, Sam," she said, her voice soft. "I couldn't have done it without you." He smiled, a gentle, loving smile that reached all the way to his eyes. "You did it, Marianne," he said. "I just helped you find your way." He paused, his gaze holding hers. He added, his voice a little hesitant, "This song, it reminds me of us. Of our journey. Of the possibility of finding love again after loss." Marianne's heart skipped a beat. His words, spoken with such sincerity, such vulnerability, echoed her own feelings, her own hopes. "It does," she said, her voice barely a whisper. They stood there, for a moment, lost in each other's gaze, the unspoken emotions swirling between them, the rhythm and blues of their lives intertwining, creating a melody of hope, of healing, of a love that was slowly, surely, beginning to blossom. The music wasn't just a metaphor, it was a catalyst, bringing them closer, revealing their vulnerabilities, and forging a connection that was becoming increasingly undeniable. Chapter 5. Dissonance. The growing intimacy between Marianne and Sam, while exhilarating, also created a sense of unease, a dissonance that resonated beneath the surface of their harmonious collaboration. They were both aware of the complexities of their situation, of the potential obstacles that stood in the way of a deeper relationship. Marianne, fiercely independent and wary of attachments, struggled with the fear of losing herself again, of sacrificing her career, her hard-won freedom, for the sake of love. She had been burned before, had made compromises that had left her feeling empty and unfulfilled. She was hesitant to repeat those mistakes, to risk the emotional vulnerability that a relationship demanded. Sam, still grieving the loss of his wife, grappled with guilt, with the fear of betraying Sarah's memory, of moving on too quickly, of disrupting the delicate balance of his life with Chloe. He was also aware of Marianne's career, of her ambitions, of the possibility that she might leave Oceania, that their connection might be fleeting, a summer romance that would fade with the changing seasons. This dissonance manifested itself in subtle ways. Moments of awkward silence, of unspoken questions, of a hesitancy to fully embrace the feelings that were growing between them. They would be working on a song, their voices blending beautifully, their bodies close, and then, suddenly, a wall would go up, a distance would emerge, a reminder of the complexities that lay beneath the surface. One evening, after a particularly intense vocal session, Marianne found herself alone with Sam in the recording studio. They had been working on a new arrangement of a classic jazz standard, and their voices had intertwined, creating a sound that was both powerful and poignant. But as the last note faded, an awkward silence filled the room. Marianne, feeling the tension, tried to break it. That was amazing," she said, her voice a little breathless. We really connected there." Sam nodded, his expression thoughtful, but he didn't meet her gaze. "Yes," he said, his voice a little distant.
"We did."
He started packing up his equipment, his movements abrupt, almost dismissive. Marianne felt a pang of hurt, a sense of rejection. "Sam," she said, her voice hesitant, "is something wrong?" He stopped what he was doing, turning to face her. His eyes, usually so warm and inviting, were now clouded with something. Uncertainty? Regret? "No," he said, his voice flat. "Nothing's wrong." But she knew he was lying. She could feel the distance between them, the unspoken tension, the dissonance that had crept into their previously harmonious relationship. "Don't," she said, her voice firm. "Don't shut me out, Sam."
Talk to me.
"What's going on?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. He looked at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of emotions that she couldn't quite decipher. "It's complicated, Marianne," he said, his voice low. I like you. A lot." But he trailed off, unable to finish the sentence, unable to articulate the fears, the doubts, the complexities that were holding him back. The dissonance wasn't just in their music, it was in their hearts, a clash between their growing feelings and the unresolved issues from their pasts. And until they could find a way to resolve that dissonance, their harmony would remain fragile, incomplete. Chapter 6. Improvisation. Marianne, sensing Sam's struggle, decided to take a risk, to push past the awkwardness, to address the unspoken tension that had been simmering between them. She wasn't one to shy away from difficult conversations, and she knew that if they were to have any chance of a future together, they needed to be honest, vulnerable, and willing to confront their fears. "But what, Sam?" she pressed, her voice gentle but firm.
Tell me.
"What's holding you back?" He hesitated, his gaze shifting away from hers, as if he couldn't bear to look her in the eye. It's everything," he finally said, his voice barely a whisper. "My past. Your future.
Chloe.
It's just too much." Marianne stepped closer, closing the distance between them. She reached out, gently touching his arm. His skin was warm beneath her fingertips. "Sam," she said, her voice soft, "look at me." He slowly raised his gaze, his eyes meeting hers. She saw the pain, the uncertainty, the vulnerability that he was trying so hard to conceal.
"I know it's complicated," she said.
"But nothing worth having is ever easy. We have something special, Sam."
"I feel it."
"You feel it too, don't you?" He nodded, his eyes searching hers, as if looking for an answer, for a reassurance that he wasn't alone in his confusion. "I do," he admitted, his voice hoarse.
"But I'm scared, Marianne.
I'm scared of messing things up. Of hurting you. Of hurting Chloe. And I'm scared of hurting my voice," she countered, trying for a light tone. "But you're helping me with that. We help each other, right?" He gave a wry smile and continued. "I'm scared of falling in love again," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of losing someone again." Marianne's heart ached for him. She understood his fear, his grief, his hesitation. But she also knew that she couldn't let his fear dictate their future, that she couldn't let his past define their present. "Sam," she said, her voice firm but gentle, "you can't live your life in fear. You have to take a chance. You have to improvise." She used the musical term deliberately, hoping to connect with him on a level that he would understand, a level that transcended words. He looked at her, his eyes widening slightly. He understood. "Improvise?" he repeated, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Yes," Marianne said.
"Like in jazz."
You take the basic melody, the basic structure, and then you create something new. Something unexpected. Something beautiful." She paused, her gaze holding his. "We can't control the past, Sam," she said. "But we can create our own future. We can improvise our own song." The improvisation wasn't just a musical concept, it was a life concept, a way of approaching the uncertainties of their situation, of embracing the unknown, of creating something new and beautiful from the raw materials of their lives. And as Sam looked at Marianne, at her determined expression, at her unwavering belief in their potential, he felt a flicker of hope, a spark of courage, a willingness to take a chance, to step outside his comfort zone, to improvise a new melody with her. Chapter 7. The Ballad of Regret. Marianne's words, her challenge to improvise, resonated deeply with Sam. He recognized the truth in her analogy, the parallel between music and life, the need to embrace uncertainty, to create something new from the existing framework. He also recognized the courage it had taken for her to be so open, so vulnerable, so willing to risk rejection. He admired her strength, her resilience, her unwavering belief in the possibility of a future together, despite the complexities of their situation. He took a deep breath, his decision made. He couldn't let fear dictate his life, couldn't let his past define his future. He had to take a chance, to embrace the unknown, to see where this improvisation would lead. "You're right, Marianne," he said, his voice firm, his eyes meeting hers with a newfound clarity. "We can't let fear hold us back. We need to create our own song." He reached out, taking her hand in his. His touch was warm, reassuring, a silent communication of his commitment, his willingness to take this journey with her. "But," he added, his voice softening slightly, "we also need to be honest. With each other. And with ourselves. About our baggage. About our regrets." Marianne nodded, understanding. She knew that they both carried wounds from the past, scars that needed to be acknowledged, addressed, before they could truly move forward. "What's your biggest regret, Sam?" she asked, her voice gentle, her gaze unwavering. He hesitated, his expression clouded with pain. He looked away, towards the window, towards the fading light of the setting sun. "My biggest regret," he finally said, his voice barely a whisper, "is that I didn't spend enough time with Sarah. In the last few years before she got sick. I was so focused on my career, on providing for my family, that I neglected her. I took her for granted." He turned back to Marianne, his eyes filled with a deep sadness, a profound sense of loss. I thought we had all the time in the world," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "But we didn't. And now it's too late." He paused, taking a deep breath, trying to compose himself. I don't want to make the same mistake again, Marianne," he said, his voice firm. "I don't want to let fear, or work, or anything get in the way of what truly matters. Of love, of connection, of living in the moment." His confession, raw and vulnerable, touched Marianne deeply. She understood his regret, his pain, his fear of repeating the past. She, too, had regrets, moments in her life when she had prioritized her career over her relationships, when she had let fear dictate her choices, when she had missed opportunities for connection, for love. "What's yours, Marianne?" he asked, returning the question, looking deeply into her eyes. "What's your biggest regret?" Marianne took a moment to gather her thoughts, her past, and its missed opportunities, replaying in her mind. She needed to be honest, as Sam had been. Pushing people away, she said finally, "Convincing myself that I was better off alone, that needing anyone was a weakness. I was so focused on maintaining my independence that I missed out on building deeper relationships." He nodded, a silent understanding passing between them. "I won't do that again," he said, and she could hear that he was making that promise as much to himself as to her. The Ballad of Regret wasn't just a song, it was a confession, a sharing of their deepest fears and vulnerabilities, a recognition of the mistakes they had made, and a commitment to learning from them, to growing from them, to creating a future that was free from the shackles of the past. And as they stood there, hand in hand, in the quiet recording studio, they knew that their improvisation had just begun, that their song was still being written, and that, together, they could create something beautiful, something lasting, something that would transcend the regrets of their past and embrace the promise of their future. Chapter 8. A minor key. Sharing their regrets had been a cathartic experience, a necessary step towards building a deeper, more honest connection. But acknowledging the past wasn't enough. They also needed to address the present, the practical realities of their lives, and the potential obstacles that still stood in their way. One of the biggest obstacles was Chloe, Sam's teenage daughter. While she had been friendly to Marianne, she had also been understandably cautious, protective of her father, and still deeply affected by the loss of her mother. Sam knew that he needed to talk to Chloe, to explain his feelings for Marianne, to reassure her that his love for her mother would never diminish, that his new relationship wouldn't change their bond. But he was hesitant, unsure of how to approach the subject, afraid of upsetting her, of disrupting the fragile equilibrium of their lives. One evening, as they were finishing dinner, Sam decided to take the plunge. He cleared his throat, his heart pounding, his hands slightly trembling. "Chloe," he said, his voice a little unsteady, I need to talk to you. About Marianne." Chloe looked up from her plate, her expression wary. She had sensed the shift in her father's demeanor, the growing closeness between him and Marianne, and she was understandably apprehensive. "What about her?" she asked, her voice guarded. Sam took a deep breath. I like her, Chloe, he said. "A lot. And I think she likes me too." Chloe didn't answer, her gaze fixed on her plate, her fingers toying with her food. The silence stretched on, thick with unspoken emotions. "I know this is difficult," Sam continued, his voice gentle. "And I don't want to hurt you. Or disrespect your mother's memory." He paused, his gaze searching his daughter's face. "But I also don't want to be alone forever, Chloe," he said. I deserve to be happy. And I think you deserve to see me happy." Chloe finally looked up, her eyes filled with a mixture of emotions, sadness, confusion, and a flicker of something else. Understanding? Acceptance? "I know, Dad," she said, her voice soft.
Y yo estoy mismo.
Sam's heart ached for her. He reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "I miss her too, sweetie," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "Every day. And nothing will ever change that. But your mom wouldn't want us to be sad forever. She would want us to live, to love, to be happy." He paused, his gaze meeting Chloe's. "And Marianne, she makes me happy, Chloe," he said. She makes me feel alive again." Chloe looked at her father, her eyes searching his, as if trying to gauge his sincerity, his love, his commitment. She saw the truth in his gaze, the genuine emotion, the vulnerability that he was allowing himself to show. "She's nice, Dad," Chloe finally said, a small smile playing on her lips. And she's a really good singer." Sam smiled, relief washing over him. It wasn't a complete endorsement, but it was a start. It was an acknowledgement, an acceptance, a willingness to give Marianne a chance. He knew it wouldn't all be smooth sailing. This conversation was in a minor key, a somber melody. "It'll take time, Chloe," he said. "But I hope, eventually, you'll come to care about her too." Chloe gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. The minor key wasn't just about Chloe's hesitation, it was about the adjustment, the navigation of a new dynamic, the blending of two lives, two families, two sets of memories and emotions. And as Sam looked at his daughter, at her tentative acceptance, at her willingness to try, he felt a surge of hope, a belief that, together, they could create a new harmony, a new family, a new future, filled with love, with music, and with the enduring power of connection. Chapter 9. Duet with Chloe's tentative acceptance. A new phase began in Marianne and Sam's relationship. They started spending more time together as a trio, going for walks on the beach, having dinner at each other's houses, attending local events, and, of course, making music. Marianne made a conscious effort to connect with Chloe, to get to know her, to understand her interests, her passions, her fears. She didn't try to replace Sarah, Chloe's mother, but instead, she sought to build a genuine friendship, a relationship based on mutual respect and affection. She discovered that Chloe was a talented artist, with a keen eye for color and composition. She encouraged Chloe's creativity, offering to help her with her art projects, taking her to local galleries, and even suggesting that she design the cover art for a future album if Marianne ever decided to record again. Chloe, initially reserved and cautious, slowly began to open up to Marianne, sharing her thoughts, her feelings, her memories of her mother. She saw that Marianne wasn't trying to take her mother's place, that she genuinely cared about her father, that she was kind, compassionate, and fun. One evening, as they were all sitting around the piano at Sam's house, Marianne suggested they try singing a song together. "How about Fly Me to the Moon?"
she said. "It's a classic.
And it's in a key that should work for all of us." Sam smiled, his eyes sparkling. "I love that song," he said. "Let's do it." He started playing the intro, his fingers dancing across the keys, creating a smooth, jazzy rhythm. Marianne began to sing, her voice clear and strong, filling the room with its warmth and emotion. Then, Sam joined in, his baritone blending harmoniously with Marianne's soprano, creating a rich, layered sound. Chloe, initially hesitant, started to hum along, her voice soft but true. As they sang together, something magical happened. The music transcended the boundaries of their individual lives, their individual griefs, their individual fears. It created a connection, a bond, a shared experience that was both exhilarating and deeply moving. They weren't just singing a song, they were creating a duet, a musical conversation, a blending of voices and hearts that spoke of love, of loss, of hope, of a new beginning. As the last note faded, they looked at each other, their faces flushed, their eyes shining. They had created something beautiful, something special, something that went beyond words. Chloe, her usual reserve melted away, beamed at them. "That was amazing," she said, her voice filled with awe. "You guys sound really good together." Sam smiled, his gaze meeting Marianne's. "We do, don't we?" he said, his voice soft. Marianne's heart swelled with emotion. She felt a sense of joy, of connection, of belonging that she hadn't experienced in years. She had found her voice again, not just as a singer, but as a woman, as a partner, as a friend to a teenage girl who was slowly, surely, accepting her into their lives. The duet wasn't just a song, it was a symbol, a representation of their growing relationship, of their blended families, of their shared journey towards healing and happiness. And as they looked at each other, surrounded by the warmth of the music, they knew that their song, their story, was just beginning. Chapter 10. Off-key, the harmonious duet, the growing connection between Marianne, Sam, and Chloe, created a sense of optimism, a feeling that their blended family was finding its rhythm, its balance, its unique melody. But life, like music, isn't always perfectly in tune. There are moments of dissonance, of unexpected shifts, of notes that go off-key. One afternoon, Marianne received a phone call from her manager, Tony. He had news, an opportunity, that he thought she couldn't refuse. "Marianne, honey," he said, his voice filled with excitement. "I've got something big. Really big." He paused for dramatic effect. "The Blue Moon Jazz Festival in Monterey," he continued. "They want you to headline. It's a huge deal, Marianne. A comeback. A chance to show the world you're still on top." Marianne's heart sank. The Blue Moon Jazz Festival. It was a prestigious event, a career-defining opportunity, the kind of gig she had dreamed of for years. But it was also a commitment, a demand on her time, her energy, her voice. And it was in Monterey, hundreds of miles away from Oceana, from Sam, from Chloe, from the new life she was beginning to build. "Tony," she said, her voice hesitant, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm ready." "Ready?" Tony exclaimed, his voice incredulous. "Marianne, this is your chance. You can't pass this up. Your voice is fine. It was just a little strain." She explained about her time in Oceana, about the workshops, about her vocal recovery. She didn't mention Sam. "So, sing a shorter set," Tony countered. "We'll make it work. This isn't some coffee shop gig, Marianne. This is Monterey." She knew he was right. It was a huge opportunity. But the thought of leaving Oceana, of disrupting the fragile harmony she had found, of potentially damaging her voice again, filled her with dread. She ended the call, promising Tony she would think about it, her mind racing, her emotions a chaotic mix of excitement, fear, and guilt. She didn't tell Sam about the offer immediately. She needed time to process it, to weigh her options, to figure out what she truly wanted. But her silence, her sudden withdrawal, created a distance between them, a dissonance that Sam immediately sensed. That evening, as they were sitting on the porch, watching the sunset, Sam turned to her. "What's wrong, Marianne?" he asked, his voice gentle but concerned. "You seem distant. Something's on your mind." She hesitated, her gaze avoiding his. She didn't want to burden him with her dilemma, didn't want to disrupt the fragile peace they had found. But she also knew that she couldn't keep it from him, that honesty was the foundation of their relationship. I got a call today," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "From my manager. He offered me a gig. A big one." Sam's expression shifted, a flicker of something crossing his face. "Concern? Fear? What kind of gig?" he asked, his voice carefully neutral. She explained about the Blue Moon Jazz Festival, about the opportunity, about the implications. As she spoke, she saw the hope drain from his eyes, replaced by a familiar sadness, a resignation that she had come to recognize as a part of his grief, a part of his past. The off-key moment wasn't just about the career opportunity, it was about the conflict it created, the clash between Marianne's past and her potential future, the dissonance between her professional ambitions and her personal desires. And as the silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken emotions, they both knew that this unexpected discord could either break them apart or force them to confront the true depth of their commitment to each other. Chapter 11. Finding the beat. The silence that followed Marianne's revelation about the Monterey Jazz Festival gig hung heavy in the air, a tangible representation of the unspoken fears and uncertainties that now threatened their fragile harmony. Sam, though trying to mask his emotions, couldn't hide the disappointment, the subtle withdrawal that flickered across his face. He finally spoke, his voice carefully controlled, almost too neutral. That's great, Marianne. Congratulations. But his words didn't match his tone, and Marianne knew that he was hurting, that he was bracing himself for another loss, another departure. Sam, she said, her voice earnest, I haven't decided anything. I haven't said yes. He looked at her, his eyes searching hers, as if trying to gauge her sincerity, to discern her true feelings. But you want to, don't you? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. It's your dream, isn't it? To sing on the big stage again. Marianne hesitated. It had been her dream for years. But things had changed. She had changed. Her priorities had shifted. It was my dream, she admitted, her voice soft. But it's not the only dream I have anymore. She reached out, taking his hand in hers. His touch was cold, his grip hesitant. Sam, she said, her voice firm but gentle, I came to Oceania to heal, to rediscover my passion for music. And I have. But I've found something else. Something more important. She paused, her gaze meeting his, her heart pounding in her chest. I've found you, she said, her voice filled with emotion. And Chloe. And a life here that I don't want to give up. Sam's expression softened, a flicker of hope returning to his eyes. But the uncertainty, the fear, still lingered. But your voice, Marianne, he said. Your career, you've worked so hard. You can't just throw it all away. I'm not throwing it away, Sam, she said. I'm redefining it. I can still sing. I can still perform. But maybe not in the same way. Maybe here. In Oceania. Or maybe somewhere else, together. If that is a real possibility. She paused, her gaze searching his. What I'm trying to say, Sam, she continued, her voice trembling slightly, is that my priorities have changed. You're my priority now. And I'm not going to let anything, not even my career, jeopardize that. Sam's eyes welled up with tears. Tears of relief, of gratitude, of a love that had been tested, challenged, but had ultimately endured. Oh, Marianne, he said, his voice choked with emotion. I don't know what to say. Say you feel the same way, she whispered, her voice pleading. He pulled her close, embracing her tightly, his body trembling slightly. I do, he said, his voice muffled against her hair.
Ido, Marianne.
More than anything. They stood there, holding each other, the silence no longer filled with tension, but with a profound sense of peace, of connection, of a shared understanding that transcended words. They had found the beat again, the rhythm of their hearts, the melody of their love, a harmony that was stronger, deeper, more resilient than ever before. The festival was a symbol of the outside world, of the pressures and expectations that threatened to pull them apart. But they had chosen each other, chosen their love, chosen their future, together. Chapter 12. Echoes of the past having openly declared their commitment to each other, and with Marianne having privately decided to decline the Monterey Jazz Festival offer, a new sense of ease settled between them. However, the echoes of the past, the ingrained habits and fears, couldn't be silenced overnight. For Marianne, The decision to potentially turn down a major career opportunity triggered anxieties she thought she'd overcome. She had always defined herself by her singing, by her success, by her independence. The thought of relinquishing that, even for love, brought up old insecurities, old doubts about her self-worth. One afternoon, as she was practicing vocal exercises in her cottage, she found herself struggling. Her voice, usually so clear and strong, felt tight, constricted. She couldn't hit the high notes, couldn't sustain the phrases, couldn't find the emotional connection to the music. Frustration and fear washed over her. Was she losing her voice again? Was this a sign that she had made the wrong decision, that she was sacrificing her talent, her passion, for a relationship that might not last? She stopped singing, her hands trembling, her eyes welling up with tears. She felt lost, adrift, unsure of who she was without her music, without her career. Sam, who had come by to pick her up for a walk on the beach, found her sitting on the floor, her head in her hands, her body shaking with silent sobs. He rushed to her side, kneeling beside her, his expression filled with concern. "Marian," he said, his voice gentle, "what's wrong? What happened?" She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and despair. I can't sing, Sam," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "I've lost it. I've lost my voice again." He reached out, gently cupping her face in his hands. His touch was warm, reassuring. "No, you haven't, Marianne," he said, his voice firm. "You're just scared. You're letting your fear get in the way." He paused, his gaze searching hers. "What are you afraid of, Marianne?" he asked. She hesitated, her internal struggle evident. She didn't want to admit her doubts, her insecurities, to him. She didn't want to appear weak, vulnerable, dependent. But she also knew that she couldn't hide from him, that she couldn't build a future with him based on lies or half-truths. I'm afraid of making the wrong choice," she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. Of giving up my career, for nothing. Of losing myself again." Sam nodded, understanding. He knew her history, her struggles, her fierce independence. "You're not giving up your career, Marian," he said. "You're just changing direction. You're exploring new possibilities. You're evolving." He paused, his gaze holding hers. "And you're not losing yourself, Marianne," he continued. "You're finding yourself. You're discovering new facets of your talent, new aspects of your personality, new ways to express your soul." He smiled, a gentle, loving smile. "And as for the relationship," he said, his voice soft, "it won't be for nothing. It will never be for nothing." The echoes of the past were still there, the whispers of doubt, the fear of failure. But Sam's words, his unwavering belief in her, his love, began to dissipate the shadows, to bring her back to the present, to the reality of their connection, to the promise of their future. The fear wasn't about her voice, it was about trust, about fully embracing the vulnerability of love and commitment. And Marianne, with Sam's support, was finally ready to confront that fear, to silence the echoes of the past, and to embrace the melody of their future. Chapter 13. A change of tempo. Sam's words of reassurance, his unwavering belief in Marianne's talent, and his commitment to their relationship, helped to calm her fears and restore her confidence. She realized that she wasn't losing her voice, she was simply experiencing a temporary setback, a manifestation of her anxieties about the future. She decided to call Tony, her manager, and officially decline the offer to perform at the Monterey Jazz Festival. It was a difficult conversation, filled with Tony's protests, his arguments, his attempts to persuade her to change her mind. But Marianne stood firm, explaining her decision, her desire to focus on her vocal recovery, her commitment to her new life in Oceania. After the call, she felt a sense of relief, of liberation, of having made the right choice, even though it was a difficult one. She was choosing love, she was choosing happiness, she was choosing a future that was uncertain but filled with possibilities. She shared her decision with Sam, who listened with empathy and understanding, offering his unwavering support. He didn't try to pressure her, didn't try to influence her choice, but instead simply reassured her that he loved her, that he would be there for her no matter what. With the decision made, Marian felt a renewed sense of purpose, a desire to focus on her music, on her teaching, on her relationship with Sam and Chloe. She began to explore new musical avenues, experimenting with different genres, writing new songs, and collaborating with other musicians in Oceania. She and Sam started working on a new project together, a series of songs that reflected their shared journey, their love story, their commitment to creating a new life together. They blended their musical styles, their voices, their experiences, creating a sound that was both unique and deeply personal. They also started performing together, occasionally at local venues, small coffee shops, and open mic nights. It wasn't the grand stage of the Blue Moon Jazz Festival, but it was something more meaningful, more intimate, more authentic. It was a chance to share their music, their love, their story with a community that had welcomed them, that had embraced them, that had become their home. One evening, as they were preparing for a performance at a small cafe overlooking the ocean, Marianne turned to Sam. "You know," she said, her voice thoughtful, "I never thought I'd be happy singing in a place like this. I always thought I needed the big stage, the bright lights, the applause." Sam smiled, his eyes filled with love and understanding. "Sometimes," he said, "the smallest stage can hold the biggest dreams. And the quietest applause can be the most meaningful." He paused, his gaze meeting hers. "It's not about where you sing, Marianne," he said. "It's about why you sing, and who you sing with." His words resonated with her, a profound truth that she had finally come to understand. She had found her voice again, not in the spotlight of a grand stage, but in the quiet intimacy of a small coastal town, in the shared love of music, in the arms of a man who had shown her that true happiness wasn't about fame or fortune, but about connection, about belonging, about finding your harmony in the unexpected rhythms of life. The change of tempo wasn't just about slowing down, it was about shifting priorities, about redefining success, about finding joy in the simplicity of a life filled with love, with music, and with a shared purpose. And as Marianne stepped onto the small stage, hand in hand with Sam, she knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Chapter 14. Vocal range. The small cafe performance was a success. Marianne and Sam's voices blended beautifully, their harmonies creating a warm, intimate atmosphere that captivated the audience. They sang a mix of jazz standards, blues ballads, and original songs, their music reflecting their shared journey, their love story, their commitment to creating a new life together. Chloe, sitting in the front row, watched them with pride and affection, her eyes shining with admiration for her father and for the woman who had brought so much joy and music back into their lives. She had fully accepted Marianne, not as a replacement for her mother, but as a new and cherished member of their family. After the performance, as they were packing up their instruments, a woman approached them. She was elegantly dressed, with a confident air and a warm smile. "Marianne Rivers?" she asked, her voice filled with a mixture of surprise and admiration. "I can't believe it's you. I'm a huge fan." Marianne smiled, accustomed to being recognized, even in this small coastal town. "Thank you," she said. "It's nice to meet you." The woman introduced herself as Evelyn Reed, a music critic for a prominent online magazine. She had been visiting Oceania on vacation and had stumbled upon their performance by chance. "I was blown away," Evelyn said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Your voice, the chemistry between you two, the songs, it was magical. Truly magical." She paused, her gaze shifting between Marianne and Sam. "I'd love to write a review," she said. "About your performance, about your music, about your story. Would you be open to an interview?" Marianne and Sam exchanged a look, a silent communication of surprise and excitement. This was unexpected, an opportunity that could potentially reignite Marianne's career, but in a way that was aligned with her new priorities, with her new life in Oceania. "We'd be honored," Marianne said, her voice filled with gratitude. Evelyn smiled, her eyes gleaming. "Wonderful," she said. "I have a feeling this is going to be a very special story." The interview with Evelyn took place the following day, in the cozy living room of Marianne and Sam's cottage. They talked about their individual journeys, their musical backgrounds, their struggles, their triumphs, and their unexpected love story. Evelyn was particularly interested in Marianne's decision to step away from the spotlight, to redefine her career, to find a new balance between her passion for music and her desire for a more fulfilling personal life. "It's inspiring," Evelyn said, her voice filled with admiration. "You're showing the world that it's possible to reinvent yourself, to find happiness on your own terms, to expand your vocal range, both literally and metaphorically." Marianne smiled, touched by Evelyn's words. She had never thought of it that way, but it was true. She had expanded her vocal range, not just in terms of her singing, but in terms of her life. She had embraced new challenges, new opportunities, new relationships, and in doing so, she had discovered a depth and richness to her life that she had never thought possible. She had learned that her voice was more than just an instrument for singing, it was an instrument for living. The vocal range wasn't just about hitting the high notes, it was about exploring the full spectrum of human experience, of embracing vulnerability, of taking risks, of finding your voice in all aspects of your life. And as Marianne looked at Sam, at the love and support shining in his eyes, she knew that she had found her range, her true voice, her perfect harmony. Chapter 15. The Girl with a Guitar. Evelyn Reed's article, published a few weeks later, created a buzz. It wasn't just a review of a local performance, it was a heartwarming story of second chances, of rediscovered passion, of a love that had blossomed amidst the challenges of life and the healing power of music. The article highlighted Marianne's career reinvention, her decision to step away from the spotlight and embrace a simpler life in Oceania. It praised her vocal talent, her songwriting skills, and her chemistry with Sam, describing their music as a soulful duet that speaks to the heart. The article also focused on Chloe, describing her as the quiet muse of their musical collaboration, the inspiration behind many of their songs, and a talented artist in her own right. The article's impact was immediate and far-reaching. Marianne and Sam began receiving inquiries from music venues, record labels, and booking agents, all eager to capitalize on the renewed interest in Marianne's career and the compelling narrative of their musical partnership. But Marianne and Sam were cautious, selective, determined to stay true to their values, to their commitment to a balanced life, to their new priorities. They turned down most of the offers, choosing instead to focus on local performances, on songwriting, on collaborating with other musicians in Oceania. One unexpected outcome of the article was the attention it brought to Chloe. Several local galleries contacted her, expressing interest in showcasing her artwork. A music producer, impressed by her quiet presence in the article and intrigued by the description of her as a muse, reached out to Sam, suggesting that Chloe might have a talent for songwriting or music production. Chloe, initially shy and overwhelmed by the attention, slowly began to embrace the opportunities. She agreed to exhibit her artwork at a local gallery, and she started spending more time with Sam in his home studio, learning about music production, experimenting with sounds, and even tentatively starting to write her own songs. One evening, as Marianne and Sam were working on a new song, Chloe walked into the studio, her guitar in hand. She looked nervous, but determined. I wrote something," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "A song. Can I play it for you?" Marianne and Sam exchanged a surprised, but delighted look. They had no idea that Chloe was writing songs. "Of course, sweetie," Sam said, his voice filled with encouragement. "We'd love to hear it." Chloe sat down on a stool, took a deep breath, and began to play. Her guitar skills were rudimentary, but her voice was clear and strong, filled with a raw emotion that belied her young age. The song was about her mother, about her grief, about her memories, but it was also about hope, about healing, about finding her own voice, her own way to express her emotions. As Marianne and Sam listened, they were deeply moved, tears welling up in their eyes. They recognized the talent, the potential, the raw emotion that Chloe poured into her music. It was a moment of revelation, of pride, of seeing a young woman blossom, finding her own creative outlet, her own way to navigate the complexities of life. The girl with the guitar wasn't just Chloe, she was a symbol of growth, of the next generation, of the enduring power of music to connect, to heal, and to inspire. And as Marianne and Sam listened to her song, they knew that their musical journey, their family journey, was far from over. It was expanding, evolving, embracing new voices, new melodies, new harmonies. Chapter 16. Beneath the Surface. Chloe's song, a poignant and surprisingly mature expression of grief and hope, was a turning point. It not only revealed her hidden talent, but also deepened the bond between her, Marianne, and Sam, creating a new layer of connection and understanding within their blended family. Marianne and Sam encouraged Chloe to continue writing, to explore her musical voice, to express herself through song. They offered guidance and support, but they also gave her the space to develop her own style, her own unique perspective. Sam, drawing on his experience as a music producer, helped Chloe learn the basics of recording and production, transforming his home studio into a creative haven for both of them. Marianne, with her vocal expertise, helped Chloe refine her singing technique, encouraging her to embrace her natural talent and to find confidence in her own voice. As Chloe blossomed as a musician, she also began to open up more emotionally, sharing her feelings, her memories, her fears with Marianne. She talked about her mother, about the things they used to do together, about the void her death had left in her life. Marianne listened patiently, offering comfort, understanding, and a non-judgmental presence. She shared her own experiences with loss, with grief, with the challenges of navigating life's unexpected turns. She didn't try to replace Chloe's mother, but instead, she offered a different kind of support, a different kind of love, a different kind of female presence in her life. One afternoon, as they were walking along the beach, Chloe turned to Marianne. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft, her eyes filled with gratitude. "For what?" Marianne asked, surprised. For everything," Chloe said. "For being here. For making my dad happy. For helping me with my music. For just listening." Marianne smiled, her heart swelling with affection for this young woman, this girl who had lost so much, but who was also finding her own strength, her own voice, her own path. "You don't have to thank me, Chloe," she said. I care about you. And I'm grateful to have you in my life." She paused, her gaze meeting Chloe's. "You know," she added, you're like the daughter I never had." Chloe's eyes welled up with tears, but she smiled. A genuine, heartfelt smile. "And you're like the mom she trailed off, unable to finish the sentence, but the unspoken words hung in the air, a testament to the bond that had grown between them, a bond that went beyond friendship, beyond mentorship, a bond that was slowly, surely, becoming family. But beneath the surface of their growing connection, a subtle tension remained. Chloe, while accepting of Marianne, still held onto the idealized memory of her mother, a memory that sometimes created a barrier, an unspoken comparison that Marianne couldn't quite overcome. It wasn't overt, it wasn't intentional, but it was there, a subtle reminder that Marianne was not Sarah, and that she could never fully replace the woman who had given Chloe life. Understanding this, and accepting this, would be crucial for their future. Chapter 17. Second verse. The subtle tension surrounding Chloe's idealized memory of her mother, Sarah, became more apparent as Marianne and Sam's relationship deepened and they began to make plans for the future. Discussions about moving in together, about potentially getting married, about blending their lives more fully, brought up unspoken anxieties and insecurities for Chloe. She didn't express her concerns directly, but Marianne sensed them in Chloe's quiet withdrawals, in her occasional nostalgic comments about her mother, in her subtle resistance to any changes that might disrupt the familiar routines of her life with her father. Marianne understood Chloe's feelings. She knew that she could never replace Sarah, that she couldn't erase the grief that Chloe still carried. But she also wanted to build a future with Sam, a future that included Chloe, a future where they could all be a family, a real family. One evening, after a particularly awkward dinner conversation about redecorating the living room, Marianne decided to talk to Chloe directly, to address the unspoken tension, to try to bridge the gap that still existed between them. She found Chloe in her bedroom, sketching in her art journal, her brow furrowed in concentration. Chloe, Marian said, her voice gentle. Can we talk? Chloe looked up, her expression wary. She nodded, closing her journal. Marian sat down on the edge of Chloe's bed, her heart pounding. She knew this conversation was important, crucial to their future relationship. I know this is difficult, Marian began, her voice hesitant. Me being with your dad. Changing things. Chloe didn't answer, her gaze fixed on her hands. I want you to know, Marian continued, her voice firm but gentle, that I'm not trying to replace you, Mother. I could never do that. And I wouldn't want to. She paused, her gaze searching Chloe's face. Your mom, she was a special person, Chloe, she said. And I know you miss her terribly. I miss my mom, too. Chloe looked up, her eyes filled with surprise. She hadn't expected Marianne to talk about her own mother, to share her own grief. But Marianne continued, her voice softening. Missing someone, it doesn't mean we can't also love someone new. It doesn't mean we can't create new memories, new traditions, new family. She reached out, gently touching Chloe's arm. I care about you, Chloe, she said. Very much. And I want us to be a family. But I also want you to be happy. I want you to feel safe.
And loved.
Chloe's eyes welled up with tears, but she didn't pull away. She looked at Marianne, her expression a mixture of sadness, confusion, and a flicker of hope. I know you're not trying to replace her, Chloe said, her voice barely a whisper. It's just sometimes it's hard
to see Dad with someone else.
I understand, Marian said, her voice filled with empathy. And it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to miss your mom. And it's okay to be a little scared of things changing. She paused, her gaze holding Chloe's. But change can be good, Chloe, she said. It can bring new joy, new love, new music into our lives. She smiled, a gentle, reassuring smile. We need to find the right harmony.
Together.
The second verse wasn't just about a new relationship, it was about integrating the past with the present, about honoring memories while embracing new possibilities, about creating a family dynamic that acknowledged loss but also celebrated love and connection. And as Marianne and Chloe sat there, talking, sharing, connecting, they were beginning to find that harmony, to write the second verse of their shared song, a verse filled with both sadness and hope, with both grief and love. Chapter 18. Stage fright. Marianne and Sam's relationship continued to deepen, and Chloe's acceptance of Marianne grew steadily, if slowly. The open and honest conversation had cleared the air, allowing for a more comfortable and authentic connection between them. As the summer drew to a close, the Harmony House planned an end-of-season concert, a showcase of the students' talents, and a celebration of the community's musical spirit. Marianne and Sam were asked to perform, both individually and as a duet. Chloe was also encouraged to participate, to play one of her original songs. While Marianne and Sam were excited about the concert, Chloe was apprehensive. She had never performed her own music in public before, and the thought of singing her deeply personal song about her mother in front of a crowd filled her with a paralyzing stage fright. She confided in Marianne, expressing her fears, her doubts, her insecurities. I don't know if I can do it, she said, her voice trembling. What if I mess up? What if people don't like it? What if I start crying? Marianne understood Chloe's fear. She, too, had experienced stage fright, even after years of performing. She knew that it wasn't just about the fear of failure, it was about the vulnerability of exposing your emotions, your inner self, to the world. It's okay to be scared, Chloe, Marianne said, her voice gentle and reassuring. Everyone gets stage fright, even experienced performers. She paused, her gaze meeting Chloe's. But, she added, fear, it can also be a powerful motivator. It can push you to do things you never thought possible. It can make the performance even more meaningful. She shared her own experiences with stage fright, telling Chloe about the times she had felt overwhelmed, the times she had wanted to run off stage, the times she had pushed through her fear and delivered some of her best performances. The key, Marianne said, is to embrace the fear, to acknowledge it,
to use it to your advantage,
to channel it into your performance. She smiled, a warm, encouraging smile. And remember, Chloe, she added, you're not alone. You have your dad. You have me. We'll be there, supporting you, cheering you on. And no matter what happens, we'll be proud of you.
Just for having the courage to try.
Marianne also suggested that she and Sam could be on stage with her, not singing but there, to lend support. Chloe liked that idea. Chloe, drawing strength from Marianne's words and the promise of support, decided to face her fear, to perform her song at the concert. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she also knew that she wasn't alone, that she had a family, a support system, that would be there for her no matter what. The stage fright wasn't just Chloe's, it was a shared challenge, a hurdle that they would overcome together, a testament to the strength of their bond, to the healing power of music, to the courage it takes to share your vulnerabilities with the world. And as the concert approached, they prepared, not just as individual performers, but as a family, ready to face the music together. Chapter 19. Open mic night. The night of the Harmony House concert arrived, filled with a palpable buzz of excitement and anticipation. The community center was packed, with students, their families, and local residents all eager to celebrate the culmination of the summer music program. Marianne and Sam performed their individual sets, showcasing their talents and captivating the audience with their soulful voices and heartfelt lyrics. The applause was enthusiastic, the appreciation genuine, a testament to their connection with the community and the power of their music. But the most anticipated performance of the evening was Chloe's. The audience knew about her song, about its deeply personal meaning, and they were eager to support this young woman who had bravely decided to share her vulnerability, her grief, and her hope with the world. As Chloe's turn approached, Marianne and Sam stood backstage with her, offering words of encouragement, their presence a silent reassurance of their unwavering support. Chloe was visibly nervous, her hands trembling, her face pale, but she also held a quiet determination, a resolve to face her fear and share her music. "You've got this, Chloe," Sam said, his voice filled with love and pride. "Just breathe. And sing from your heart." Marianne squeezed Chloe's hand, her eyes filled with warmth and understanding. "We're here for you, Chloe," she said. "Every step of the way. Just be yourself. And let the music flow." Chloe took a deep breath, closed her eyes for a moment, and then nodded. She was ready. Sam and Marianne walked on stage with her to provide a quiet presence, but remained in the wings as she stepped forward to the center of the small stage, her guitar in hand. The spotlight shone down on her, illuminating her youthful beauty, her vulnerability, her courage. The room fell silent, the audience holding its breath, waiting for her to begin. Chloe took another deep breath, strummed a chord, and began to sing. Her voice was soft at first, hesitant, but it quickly gained strength, clarity, and a raw emotion that resonated throughout the room. She sang of her mother, of her love, of her loss, of her grief, but also of her hope, of her healing, of her journey towards finding her own voice, her own path. Her lyrics were simple but profound, her melody haunting and beautiful, her voice filled with a sincerity that touched everyone who listened. As she sang, tears streamed down her face, but she didn't stop. She kept singing, pouring her heart and soul into the music, sharing her vulnerability, her pain, her hope with the world. Marianne and Sam, standing in the wings, watched her with pride and admiration, tears welling up in their own eyes. They were witnessing not just a performance, but a transformation, a young woman finding her voice, her strength, her courage, through the power of music. When she finished the song, the silence lingered for a moment, a profound, respectful silence that acknowledged the depth of emotion, the vulnerability, the beauty of her performance. Then, the applause erupted, thunderous and sustained, a wave of appreciation, of admiration, of love that washed over Chloe, lifting her spirits, validating her courage, and celebrating her talent. The open mic night wasn't just a concert, it was a revelation, a moment of profound connection, of shared emotion, of a community coming together to support one of its own. And as Chloe stood on stage, bathed in the warmth of the applause, she knew that she had not only faced her fear, but she had also found her voice, her place, her family, in the heart of this small coastal town, in the embrace of the music that had brought them all together. Chapter 20. The sound of silence, the aftermath of Chloe's performance, was a whirlwind of emotions. The audience had been deeply moved by her song, by her vulnerability, by her courage. Many people approached her after the concert, offering words of praise, of support, of shared experiences with grief and loss. Chloe, initially overwhelmed by the attention, gradually began to relax, to accept the compliments, to connect with the people who had been touched by her music. She realized that her song had resonated with others, that her vulnerability had created a space for shared healing, for a sense of community, for a connection that transcended words. Sam and Marianne watched with pride and gratitude as Chloe interacted with the audience, their hearts overflowing with love for this young woman who had blossomed before their eyes, who had found her voice, her strength, her confidence, through the power of music. As the crowd thinned and the evening drew to a close, the three of them found themselves alone on the stage. The silence of the empty community center a stark contrast to the vibrant energy of the concert. Chloe turned to Marianne and Sam, her eyes shining with a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft but filled with emotion. For everything. For believing in me. For helping me find my voice." Sam hugged her tightly, his voice choked with emotion. "We're so proud of you, sweetie," he said. "You were amazing." Marianne joined the embrace, holding them both close, feeling a sense of completeness, of family, of a love that had grown and deepened through shared experiences, through shared vulnerabilities, through shared music. "You did it yourself, Chloe," Marianne said, her voice gentle. "You found your voice. You shared your heart. And you touched so many people." They stood there for a moment, the three of them, enveloped in the silence, in the aftermath of the performance, in the warmth of their connection. It was a silence filled with unspoken emotions, with gratitude, with love, with a shared understanding of the journey they had taken together. But the silence also held a deeper meaning. It was a recognition of the power of music to transcend words, to communicate emotions that were too complex, too profound, too personal to be expressed in any other way. It was an acknowledgement of the spaces between the notes, the pauses, the rests, that gave music its depth, its meaning, its power to heal. Chloe, inspired by the evening's success, shared her plans. She was thinking of perhaps compiling an album, or at the very least, posting some songs online. Sam and Marianne offered to help. As they walked home, hand in hand, the three of them, under the quiet, starlit sky, they knew that the sound of silence wasn't just an absence of noise, it was a presence, a powerful presence, filled with the echoes of the music they had shared, with the memories they had created, with the love that bound them together. It was the silence of completion, of peace, of a journey that had reached a significant milestone, but was also, undeniably, continuing. The music had brought them together, but the silence, the shared understanding, the unspoken connection, was what would keep them together, a family forged in the crucible of grief and loss, and strengthened by the healing power of love and music. Chapter 21. Backstage, past the success of the Harmony House concert, and particularly Chloe's moving performance, generated a renewed wave of interest in Marianne and Sam's musical collaboration. While they continued to prioritize their life in Oceania and their commitment to the community, they also began to explore new opportunities that aligned with their values and allowed them to share their music with a wider audience. They started working on an album together, a collection of original songs and carefully chosen covers that reflected their shared journey, their love story, and their individual musical styles. They recorded the album in Sam's home studio, a space that had become a sanctuary, a creative hub, a place where their voices blended, their hearts connected, and their music came to life. Chloe, increasingly involved in the music-making process, contributed not only her artistic talents to the album's cover design, but also her burgeoning songwriting skills. She co-wrote a song with Marianne and Sam, a beautiful, heartfelt ballad about family, loss, and the enduring power of love. As the album neared completion, they received an unexpected invitation. A well-respected music producer, who had read Evelyn Reed's article and heard recordings of their Harmony House performance, contacted them, expressing interest in their music and offering them a backstage pass to the music industry, a chance to explore new possibilities, to reach a larger audience, to share their unique sound with the world. The producer, David Chen, was known for his integrity, his artist-friendly approach, and his commitment to promoting authentic, meaningful music. He wasn't interested in changing them, in molding them into something they weren't. He was interested in amplifying their voices, in sharing their story, in helping them connect with a wider audience on their own terms. Marianne and Sam were hesitant at first, wary of the pressures and demands of the music industry, the very world they had both, in their own ways, retreated from. But after meeting with David, discussing his vision, and feeling his genuine appreciation for their music and their story, they decided to take a chance, to explore this new opportunity, to see where it might lead. They agreed to a limited engagement, a series of performances at select venues, a chance to test the waters, to gauge the audience's response, to see if they could navigate the complexities of the music industry without compromising their values, their priorities, their commitment to their life in Oceania. The Backstage Pass wasn't just an invitation to the music industry, it was an invitation to a new chapter in their lives, a chapter filled with both excitement and uncertainty, a chapter that would test their resilience, their commitment to each other, and their ability to stay true to themselves amidst the pressures and temptations of the professional music world. It was a chance to share their music with a wider audience, but it was also a challenge, a risk, a step into the unknown. Chapter 22. Encore. Marianne and Sam's limited engagement tour was a carefully curated series of performances designed to introduce their music to a wider audience without overwhelming them or disrupting their lives in Oceania. David Chen, their producer, understood their priorities and worked with them to create a schedule that balanced their professional aspirations with their personal commitments. They chose intimate venues, small theaters, and clubs that allowed for a closer connection with the audience. They performed their original songs, the ones they had written together, reflecting their shared journey, their love story, their blended family. They also included some of their favorite jazz and blues standards, showcasing Marianne's vocal range and Sam's musical versatility. Chloe, while not performing with them, was an integral part of the tour, traveling with them, assisting with the logistics, and providing moral support. She also continued to develop her own musical talents, writing new songs, and even joining them on stage for a few impromptu performances, her confidence growing with each appearance. The response to their tour was overwhelmingly positive. Audiences connected with their authentic voices, their heartfelt lyrics, their undeniable chemistry, and the palpable love that infused their music. Critics praised Marianne's vocal prowess, Sam's musical arrangements, and the unique blend of their styles, describing their music as soulful, intimate, and deeply moving. But more important than the critical acclaim or the audience applause was the internal validation that Marianne and Sam experienced. They were sharing their music, their story, their love with the world, and they were doing it on their own terms, without compromising their values, without sacrificing their personal happiness. They found a balance, a rhythm, that allowed them to navigate the demands of the music industry while remaining grounded in their commitment to each other, to Chloe, and to their life in Oceania. They learned to set boundaries, to prioritize their well-being, to say no to opportunities that didn't align with their values. One evening, after a particularly successful performance in a small theater in San Francisco, Marianne and Sam found themselves alone on stage, the applause still echoing in their ears, the warmth of the audience's appreciation still lingering in the air. "We did it, Sam," Marianne said, her voice filled with emotion. We really did it." Sam smiled, his eyes shining with love and pride. "We did," he said. "And we did it our way." He reached out, taking her hand in his. His touch was warm, familiar, a constant reassurance of their enduring bond. "This isn't the end, Marianne," he said, his voice soft. It's just the beginning. A new chapter. A new song. He paused, his gaze meeting hers. And I can't wait to see what we create together next. The encore wasn't just an additional song at the end of a concert. It was a symbol, a representation of their continued journey, their ongoing collaboration, their enduring love. It was a promise of more music, more stories, more shared experiences, more life, lived together in harmony. They had faced the challenges, navigated the complexities, and found a way to balance their personal lives with their professional aspirations. And as they stood there, hand in hand, on the stage, bathed in the soft glow of the lights, they knew that their encore, their future, was filled with endless possibilities. Okay, here's chapter 23, Perfect Harmony, which will be the final chapter before the epilogue, bringing the story to a satisfying close. Chapter 23. Perfect Harmony. The success of their tour, the positive reviews, the growing audience, it all confirmed that Marianne and Sam had found a way to balance their musical aspirations with their personal lives, their commitment to each other, and their love for their blended family. They returned to Oceania, not as conquering heroes returning from a triumphant campaign, but as seasoned artists, grateful for the opportunity to share their music, and even more grateful to return to the quiet sanctuary of their coastal home. They continued to write and record music, to perform locally, and to nurture Chloe's burgeoning talent. They also made a conscious effort to prioritize their relationship, to carve out time for themselves, to keep the spark of their romance alive amidst the demands of their careers and family life. One sunny afternoon, as they were walking along the beach, hand in hand, watching the waves crash against the shore, Sam turned to Marianne. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice thoughtful. About us. About our future." Marianne's heart skipped a beat. She knew what was coming, and she felt a surge of joy, of anticipation, of a love that had grown deeper and stronger with each passing day. Sam stopped walking, turning to face her, his eyes filled with a love that transcended words. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small, velvet box. "Marianne," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "you've brought so much joy, so much music, so much love into my life. You've healed my heart. You've made me whole again." He opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant ring, a diamond that sparkled in the sunlight, reflecting the brilliance of their love. "I love you, Marianne," he said, his voice husky with emotion. And I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears welled up in Marianne's eyes, tears of joy, of gratitude, of a love that had defied the odds, that had overcome obstacles, that had found its perfect harmony. "Yes, Sam," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Yes, I will." He slipped the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit, a symbol of their commitment, their love, their future together. He then pulled her close, embracing her tightly, their bodies melding together, their hearts beating as one. They kissed, a slow, tender kiss that sealed their vows, their love, their promise of a lifetime of shared music, shared laughter, shared dreams. The wedding took place a few months later, on the beach in Oceania, surrounded by their friends, their family, and the community that had embraced them, that had supported them, that had become their home. Chloe, radiant and beaming, served as Marianne's maid of honor. The ceremony was simple but heartfelt, filled with music, with laughter, with tears of joy. They exchanged vows that they had written themselves, promises to love, to cherish, to support each other, through all of life's melodies, both the harmonious and the dissonant. As they were pronounced husband and wife, they kissed, and the assembled guests erupted in cheers, celebrating the union of two souls who had found their perfect harmony, their perfect love, in the most unexpected of places, in the most unexpected of circumstances. The perfect harmony wasn't just a musical term, it was a description of their lives, of their love, of their blended family, of their shared journey. They had found a balance, a rhythm, a melody that was uniquely theirs, a song that would continue to evolve, to grow, to deepen with each passing year. And as they stood there, hand in hand, on the beach, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, they knew that their love story, their song, was just beginning. They had truly found their happily ever after, a harmonious blend of individual dreams and shared aspirations. Okay, here's the epilogue of Coastal Chords, followed by the KREA AI cover prompt. Epilogue. 5 years later, 5 years later, the melody of Marianne and Sam's life in Oceania continued, richer and more harmonious than ever. Their cottage had become a true home, filled with laughter, music, and the comfortable rhythm of a family deeply connected. Marianne, her voice strong and resonant, continued to sing, but on her own terms. She performed locally, occasionally venturing out for select engagements, but her primary focus was on songwriting and teaching. She had released 2 albums with Sam, both critically acclaimed and warmly received by a growing fanbase who appreciated their authentic sound and heartfelt lyrics. Sam, thriving in his role as both a musician and a mentor, had expanded his teaching at Harmony House, nurturing young talent and sharing his passion for music production. He and Marianne often collaborated on projects, their creative partnership a constant source of inspiration and joy. Chloe, now a young woman of 20, was studying graphic design at a nearby college, her artistic talents flourishing. She had also continued to develop her songwriting skills, her music reflecting her own unique experiences and perspectives. She occasionally performed with Marianne and Sam, her voice blending beautifully with theirs, creating a family trio that delighted audiences. She had also, tentatively, started dating, with both Sam and Marianne offering gentle advice and unwavering support. The family dynamic had settled into a comfortable, loving pattern. While Chloe would always miss her mother, the space in her heart for Marianne had grown, solidified by years of shared experiences, mutual respect, and genuine affection. Marianne, in turn, had embraced her role as a stepmother, offering guidance, support, and unconditional love, while always honoring Sarah's memory. One warm summer evening, the family gathered on the beach for a picnic, a tradition they had established over the years. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the water, the waves gently lapping against the shore. As they sat together, sharing food and stories, Chloe picked up her guitar and began to strum a familiar melody. It was the song she had written about her mother, the song she had performed at the Harmony House concert, the song that had marked a turning point in her life. Marianne and Sam joined in, their voices blending with Chloe's, creating a 3-part harmony that filled the evening air. They sang with their eyes closed, their hearts connected, their voices a testament to the enduring power of music, of love, of family. As the last note faded, they opened their eyes, looking at each other with a shared understanding, a deep appreciation for the journey they had taken together, for the challenges they had overcome, for the love that had blossomed amidst the complexities of their lives. "This is perfect," Chloe said, her voice filled with contentment. Marianne smiled, reaching out to take both Sam's and Chloe's hands. "It is," she agreed.
It truly is.
They sat in silence for a moment, simply enjoying the peace, the beauty, the harmony of the moment. The coastal chords weren't just the sounds of the waves or the music they created, they were the chords of their lives, intertwined, resonant, and filled with a love that would endure, a love that had found its perfect harmony in the most unexpected of places, in the most unexpected of ways.